poetry club. Just wait for everybody to settle down. We've got a wonderful afternoon of poetry. We've got 3 wonderful features. Well, hopefully 3. We're still waiting for our 3rd one. But we've got Tayonga Sandama, John Pratt, and Elle. Daniel Hansen, do you want to come up? Yep. So please welcome Daniel Hansen. He's going to come do a welcome in the country for us.
Kaya Nyanyang ko Daniel Hansen Nyanyo ko Balong Buja Kulangwata Wajak Buja Niji Wajak Nunga Buja Kanyalak Nini Niji Kella Nyalang Berdia Nyalak Karjin Koro Warrior Yanga. Hello, my name is Daniel Hansen. I come from Baladong country, born Wajak country. This is Wajak Noongar country we're sitting on. Our elders, this day, our elders, we acknowledge past, present and future in gratitude. Thank you.
Definitely worthy of an applause because Daniel went to the dentist this morning, had a tooth out, poor guy. So first up to the microphone is JP.
This is a book by Alicia Cook. I like the way she's drawn a cassette on the front and then each poem is a track on the cassette and then at the end she sort of refers to what music she's listening to. I do believe the sun will come out after each storm, though no one knows how long one of the storms will last. Could be a passing shower, could be a year-long monsoon. You aren't a fictional green witch. You will not melt if you get a little wet. I would say, learn to dance in the rain, but that's too much of a goddamn cliche. These days, at the very least, find the simple joy of jumping in the puddles life creates. She was currently listening to Gene Kelly singing in the rain.
Thank you, JP. Next up to the microphone we have Baby Talk.
Punk Galaxy Love. Lords of skies, unified under desire, rolling out thunder and lightning so they electrify the tongue of imagination with an instinct to lick this renaissance of dance, drawing in every contorted yet passionately controlled escapist gaze. Make 1,000 new suns out of 1,000 lost dreams when flowers burn uncontrollably with a jolt of grime and freedom as the sparks flying from a reconnected innocence move with their own conscious creativity, just letting the broken know that we are nothing if not punk galaxy love. Isolation is such a tender veil of beauty that meets a rediscovered acceptance of worlds within constructed freaks with a curiosity that cuts through the dark temptation to submit to the vast expanse of confusion that is everything outside the inner child. And to be in such an empire giving invisibility, power and nuance is to be a work of art that flows like a raging river of love into an ocean of faith in the electric fantasy that is being yourself. For it is rarely a bad idea. Rarely will ancient caves of thought not become a space that unifies gravity and elevation. A blink trapped in consciousness is a call for more darkness to infuse itself with mental storms So blanketed truth caresses cold insecurities in warm light, giving back to neglected ripples of questionable inspiration, a reason to unfold a unity of self into a tattoo inked on the canvas of the sweetest, softest, most sensual surface of temptation. A beginning in a circle divisible by everything that touches everything else, as the background of the night sky reveals itself as merely the inside of an eyelid, closing with natural grace for the smooth, magically displaced journey that is sleep. For the sting of reality melts any oncoming reflection equipped with the disguise of perfect beauty into a hesitant kiss that embraces a little more sky and a little more earth. And this surrender sharpens the craft of alluring seduction despite the bohemian bruises that bring into the momentum of exquisite control an undying need to revisit the challenges that were murdered in past lives, when melodies had no choice but to pursue epiphanies, chasing their slice of randomly uncontrolled, frenzied, ecstatic flames of artistic endeavours, bring the long march into the comforting glow of this big, bright yellow sun. Thank you.
Thank you, Baby Talk. Next up to the microphone we have Daphne Milne. And Daphne also has a zine up on the table for $5 if anyone's interested.
A couple of years ago, we were given a challenge to write a poem a day all the way through December. And then the person who set the challenge had second thoughts and said, well, there is Christmas, so I'll settle for 20. He got 32 from me, 3 of the lyrics and a short story. So that was that. And I was staying in Dubai at the moment, at the time, so some of them are in Dubai, some of them are in Australia, some of them are in England, some of them are in all sorts of places. So I'll take you on a little Christmas journey today. 3 places. Starting just up the road from Joondalup, things to draw on the Carraburrup Road. A ball of Barker Cartland pink feathers, cockatoo, musing possibly on life and love and romance. A kookaburra, not laughing, sharp-eyed as a kingfisher to whom he is related. Black boys burned to stumps wait for the rainy season for their grassy tops to explode like fireworks. A corrugated metal water tower on stilts like some alien spacecraft, the water boiled to purity. Sea blue bus shaded by white gum trees, shredded tyres, rose-patterned curtains, destination unknown. And 3 bored camels who will lead the Christmas procession through Perth, reflected in mirror-windowed skyscrapers. And then Dubai. This is called Today. Today, I will buy a piece of myrrh in the spice souk and a phial of frankincense oil. Look across the man-made lake through the dusty palm trees to the golden desert. See camels imported from Australia racing across Arabian sand. Reflect on 3 kings, their long, uncomfortable journey, the romance of the word caravanserai. And the last one, I used to live at the bottom of England, a place called St Ives, which is a bit like Fremantle. Fish and chip shops, a lot of fish and chip shops, boats coming in and all the rest of it. Santa comes in on a fishing boat instead of on a sleigh. And there was a wonderful headline that my daughter sent me. Anyway, a date with Santa. The reindeer have the day off, get smashed on mistletoe wine. Santa is brought in by lifeboat. Today is for drowning in cheerfulness. The lifeboat, full of tinsel and parcels, rescues St Ives from December gloom. The balancing eel, influenced by Santa, generously offer fish and chips at 10% off. Thank you. You buy it. Something for Christmas.
Mistletoe wine, I really like that. Pick your poison, as they say. Next up to the microphone, we have Daniel Hansen.
Sorry guys, my phone is dead, so it's turning on. Bear with me. Alright. Love, part 2. The great taste of untainted flavoursome love. Like retail stew and a perfectly cooked damper. Plus such an insatiable fragrance is love. Like freshly picked flowers plucked graciously from nature. Absorb love, to help your soul awaken to the light. Exude love, to become ultra-conscious of all things in sight. Pray daily in meditation to attain the patience to love. Then focus solely on controlling your dreams. And when your confidence calls, invoke the formidable force that is love. For love and its opposite are much, much more than just speech. So let us all hastily train our brains to just love, praising a benevolent energy so brazen and bold. For the best and the brightest direction is love, and any sorts of bonds formed through love always hold. So happily subscribe to love, that buzzes like crazy from its own pocket dimension. That get home safely kind of love, of calling a loved one to stop them from stressing. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. This brings us to our first featured poet. Elle does not disappoint as a poet. Elle is a novice poet who has an affinity for words, for their literal sense as well as their subtext. Fearing she was becoming a wallflower, she sprang into action one day and performed her very first piece of poetry here at the Moon, September the 1st of this year, which is all too befitting being that it marks the first day of spring. From her first open mic at Perth Poetry to all her performances at the Moon, there is always something about her poetry and performance that makes you want to listen. Her poetry is heartfelt, with keen observation on life and emotions. Elle is currently studying in the creative arts, a perfect place for her talents. Would you please welcome to the stage, Elle.
Thank you, Mitch. Hi, everyone. Glad to see you all here today. I haven't slept for a week. It's been kind of an emotional roller coaster. Like I've been highs and lows, anticipating this moment. So hopefully you will have fun and enjoy my poetry. This first one is called Shadows Don't Align. The shadows are disjointed, chaotic and messy, sprawled beneath my feet. Their playful, spindly arms and legs, jaunts and jabs at odd angles down the rusted flyscape. I stare at them, unable to look away, as an irrational irritability sets in for fear that I cannot make them behave, conform, sit still, be straight. Frustrated, I stamp my feet and I tilt my head, only to find that from a different perspective, they can align and they can conform and be left standing dead straight. But this realization has left me feeling strange inside, for something is not right, as Miss Clavel would say. So I untilt my head and I unstamp my feet and I watch the shadows at play, for they aren't made to be controlled, conformed, be still kept straight. Put simply, shadows don't align. This next poem, when I first recited it, the nerves got in the way, and so for that reason alone, I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm just going to dive right in. This one's called Le Roi. There is a man that nobody knows about, whom spends his days and nights locked away in a man-made prison, which he believes to be his castle, where he is the king of his own domain. But the people won't let him rest, and so he's restlessly, relentlessly at the mercy of their will, behind bricks of sweat and blood and evaporated tears. He slaves away, working his brittle bones to ground until there is nothing left but dust. And the people do not see him, and they do not know his sorrow. But for this king of man, it doesn't matter, for tomorrow is another day, and with that comes the sun, which belongs to no one, but everyone, the rich and the poor. And so for this man, there will always be hope. Let the people come. This next one is dedicated to a little boy whom I had the pleasure of looking after back when I worked in childcare a long time ago. And this is a poem dedicated to him. It's called King Louis. The Louis I know likes to play dress-ups and brush hair that's not messy, with warm brown eyes and a dose of freckles splashed across his nose. He likes to sing to himself and rearrange tablecloths. He is just 3 years old. The Louis I know likes mermaids, Lego, and anything pink. He shakes uncontrollably on the floor, but not from tantrums commonly thrown by kids his own age. The Louis I know has glazed eyes after episodes, has a dose of freckles splashed across his nose, has a dad who wears red glasses, who is proud of him. The Louis I know has a fragile interior and a tender softness. Blessed with a kind heart, he is destined for greatness. I'm just going to keep going while the iron's hot. Strike while the iron's hot. This next one, it's a bit of an odd one. It's a very short poem, and this is how I used to write poetry back in the day, when I thought poems had to be short, concise, and had to have a particular rhyming scheme. And this is a poem based on a primary school crush, and it's really short. It's called Donkey Boy. You, oh little donkey boy, with eyes the colour of mud, you sit alone atop your throne, reserved for those alike, and while you ponder at your fate, your future is set in stone. For you, oh little donkey boy, with nose against the grind, you the heir, sitting in your chair, enforced by those unkind, will never get your chance to rule in this world unforgiving and unjust. For you will only ever be seen as nothing more than a class dunce. Okay. How are you all going? Good? Yeah? Yeah, still with me? This next one, it's got a religious sort of theme running through this poem. I'm not religious, but that's how this poem came about. So this one's called Devil's Nectar. Liquor is a devil's nectar. It can turn a saint into a sinner, a victim into a predator, a king into a commoner. With a devil's nectar on your lips, your kisses turn from sweet to bitter, always a fraction too low to be righteous, a fraction too low, they become injustice. Their touch causes my neck, collarbones, thighs to shudder. With that foul taste of liquor, you go from guardian angel to the death reaper. But I don't hold you accountable for your actions until you go looking for trouble. And as I stand there getting soaked in heaven's water, I listen to call my name through the bedroom window that is my own private sanctuary, with that devil's nectar on your breath. I hold my tongue and pray, O Holy Father. Okay, to lighten the mood, I'm going to perform a sonnet. It's a Shakespearean sonnet, and I've only written 2 in my life, and this is my second one, so yeah. No surprises, it's called Boy. In vintage menswear, slacks he poses tall, behind the lens of someone else's eye. He sports mustard, short-sleeved, knit corduroy, with me by his rightful left-handed side. The blinding flash captures a rare insight, his world temporarily fixed, exposed. The smile behind pale weathered eyes in night, with inner thoughts and dreams concealed, locked closed. Motionless lips coral from a straight line, while embedded emotions brace the void. Caught in the device of our modern time, this moment forever in Polaroid. And though this photo sees the light of day, feelings for me fade in sepia grey. How are we going for time? Okay, great. I suppose, yeah, okay. So this poem that I recited a couple of weeks back didn't have a title, and it came to me the other day. It's called Homecoming, which isn't a very original title, but it's the way it goes. So this poem's called Homecoming. It's a happy poem, by the way, just to let you know. The roses are blooming, and the wind has changed course yet again. The air feels warm against my arms, and I am out with a fresh pair of eyes. The day progresses like any other, but I laugh in the morning and share a croissant with my mum for the very first time. This is a day for remembering, for no other reason than I am happier than most. Today the wattle zips past and the sun shines without malice. Its gentle embrace kisses my unkissed skin, and I am feeling warm inside. I come home to you, and you make me scrambled eggs that are fluffy and white like clouds. The eggs are organic, and the eggshells leave traces behind. I share a bath with you, and you and I exchange stories of our day, while outside the wind changes course yet again. This has been a long time coming. Could use some more to write about now. Yeah, that's all good. All right, last one. Okay, let's do it. It's all right. So I'm gonna, funny enough, if it's gonna be my last one. This is the very first poem I ever recited here on the stage. So I think it's only to be fitting to end my very first feature with the poem that sort of started it all off. So this one's called 8 Days' Time. In 8 days' time. In 8 days' time, I will go to a party where the music drowns sounds and lock eyes with you from across the room and tell you that I love you, not with words, but with every fibre of my being. But you will not hear me. Instead, you'll laugh and tease, playing a hardcore melody on my heartstrings, plucking and stringing me along the entirety of the night, just so that you can have your fun. And I will allow this to happen, not on purpose, but on accident, so you could accidentally fall in love with me, become attuned to my sound and my silences, and realize that you cannot live without. In 8 days' time, strings will be broken, tried and tested by your hands, only to be left hanging on a shelf and have you walk away from me. Thank you.
And next we have Glenn Hunting.
Afternoon, everybody. Given that it's super open mic next week, I'm going to keep my powder dry for another week and give you a couple from a couple of other people. So, this is Adrian Rich. The middle-aged. Their faces, safe as an interior of Holland tiles and oriental carpet, where the fruit bowl, always filled, stood in a light of placid afternoon. Their voices measure, their figures moving in the Sunday garden to lay the tea outdoors or trim the borders, afflicted, haunted us. For to be young was always to live in other people's houses, whose peace, if we sought it, had been made by others, was ours at second hand and not for long. The custom of the house, not ours, the sun fading the silver blue fortuney curtains, the reminiscence of a Christmas party of 14 years ago, all memory, signs of possession and of being possessed, we tasted, tense with envy. They were so kind, would have given us anything. The bowl of fruit was filled for us. There was a room upstairs we must call ours, but 20 years of living they could not give. Nor did they ever speak of the coarse stain on that polished balustrade, the crack in the study window, or the letters locked in a drawer and the key destroyed. All to be understood by us, returning late in our own time, how that peace was made, upon what terms, with how much left unsaid. And, think about this as we come into the last month of the year. This is from Anne Sexton. January 1st. Today is favourable for joint financial affairs, but do not take any chances with speculation. My daddy played the market. My mother cut her coupons. The children ran in circles. The maid announced, "The soup's on." The guns were cleaned on Sunday. The family went out to shoot. We sat in the blind for hours. The ducks fell down like fruit. The big fat war was going on, so profitable for Daddy. She drove a pea green Ford. He drove a pearl grey Caddy. In the end, they used it up, all that pale green dough. The rest I spent on doctors who took it like gigolos. My financial affairs are small. Indeed, they seem to shrink. My heart is on a budget. It keeps me on the brink. I tell it stories now and then, feed it images like honey. I will not speculate today with poems that think they're money. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. And our next poet is up the back in the corner. Would you please welcome Sana Peterman?
Thank you. Before I read the poem, I just want to mention that I have my book Straight Lines on sale at the table there. I also have one of those little beepy things where you can pay with a card, and I'm really keen to test that out. So if you don't have one yet, and you don't like to pay for things with cash, come and see me at the back. I'm quite excited about my new toy. Also, I need to return a book to Jo Clark, so if there's anyone from the Fremantle set here who can take that to her for me, that would be excellent as well. Fantastic, thank you. See, community. This is a poem I wrote during the festival in August, and this sort of came from exercises in Maddie Godfrey's and Peach Klinkovich's workshops. I've known you in the burnt carpet remains of schools and the rotting eucalypt of this unstable season. Not as a blink before noise, but as a space taker in broken windows and the steady pulsing of survival down a spine. Now your silence streaks with noise and the chaos turns deliberate. A certain gravity in light cut anchors in the afternoon while your retrospect refracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Sana. Next up to the microphone is Anne Saul.
Thanks, Mitchell. Hi, everyone. This is a poem I wrote for the artist Howard Taylor. He was one of the great West Australian and Australian artists from the last century, and his public works are still, I think, at Curtin, UWA, in the Fremantle passenger terminal. To the artist Howard Taylor. The last gift was a discovery, flashes and shadows on the Maori bark, harks to the unseen beauty of the bush in a midnight storm. Can we see more in the dark than is shown in the light of day? What is before our eyes is always there for the seeing, perhaps not for the unbelieving. Pearlescent spheres float, illuminated, the beauty of line and form, botanic frieze to welcome the sea-weary. A place to rest and run hands over curves of 1,000 iridescent tiles. The tragedy of nature taken by fire, away from our feet fall rivers of ash. The circular arc returns to the collective mind, drawing the crescent moon reflected in our eye. Honour to you for showing what we have not seen, yet feel through the beauty of your sculptural hand, a way your eyes see and your true artist's heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Next up we have Matthew Briley.
Good afternoon. A couple of poems by two American poets today, not me. So the first is by Charles Bukowski and is called No Leaders Please. Invent yourself and then reinvent yourself. Don't swim in the same cell. Invent yourself and then reinvent yourself. And stay out of the clutches of mediocrity. Invent yourself and then reinvent yourself. Change your tone and your shape so often they can never categorize you. Reinvigorate yourself and accept what is, but only on the terms that you have invented and reinvented. Be self-taught and reinvent your life because you must. It is your life, and its history and the present belong to you. I had this just in case I forgot it. Alright, this one's by Raymond Carver, and it's called For Tess. Out on the straight, the water is whitecapping, as they say here. It's rough, and I'm glad I'm not out. Glad I fished all day on Morse Creek, casting a red daredevil back and forth. I didn't catch anything, no bites even, not one, but it was okay, it was fine. I carried your dad's pocket knife and was followed for a while by a dog its owner called Dixie. At times I felt so happy I had to quit fishing. Once I lay on the bank with my eyes closed, listening to the sound the water made and to the wind in the tops of the trees, the same wind that blows out on the straight, but a different wind too. For a while I even let myself imagine I had died, and that was all right, at least for a couple of minutes, until it really sunk in. Dead. As I was lying there with my eyes closed just after I'd imagined what it might be like if in fact I never got up again, I thought of you. I opened my eyes then and got right up and went back to being happy again. I'm grateful to you, you see. I wanted to tell you.
Thank you, Matthew. And Matthew was our feature last week. And Matthew, do you have any copies here today to sell? Yes, you do? Okay. Yes, you do? Okay. So go see Matthew up the back if you want, if you missed a copy of his. I'm going to do the announcements and then we'll have Peter Bibby to close the first half. Next week on Saturday we have our mega open mic, which means that you all get to be a feature. You get 5 minutes up on this stage. Then we've got books, zines, leaflets on the zine table over there. Elio's by the door showing them off. We also have a contacts list for weekly emails and a contributions box. It's costing us $190 to run the gig today. Any dollar notes, gold and silver coins, whatever you can afford, we don't exclude, but we do appreciate the donations. We survive on them. Thanks to Ben on Sound Desk and the Moon Cafe. In terms of events, Elio hasn't filled out the details for spoken word on Wednesday. So I'm going by memory here, but it's going to be 7 for 7:30. We're hoping it's going to be in either City Farm or Paper Mountain. It hasn't actually specified on the Facebook event for some reason. But the theme is going to be joy, and it's going to start at 7 for a 7:30 start, and the features are going to be Jesse Oliver, and I don't know the full name of the second person, Anna Marshall, someone that's hyphenated name, I can't remember, great poet though. We've also got entries over the table there for Jeff Spencer's Haiku competition. Now a haiku just means Christmas haiku. Write a haiku as loosely inspired as you like about the topic. You cannot hear the ampersand in a darkened room. So the best haiku will be drawn on the 15th of December. Entries close next Saturday. And our last gig will be on the 15th of this year. Got Julie Watts and Gabriel O'Sullivan. So I'm going to hand it over to Peter Bibby.
not good. I have to step on a face to get onto the stage. Here we go with the half rap of the afternoon. We were much comforted by the announcement that fracking would not occur in the Perth region. Were we much comforted? It's out there as all the big, less defended country. Gas giant. This country is yours till we find something in it and peg out a claim in a stock exchange minute. You folks, light your water. You better not drink it, but that's unthinkable. Corporates can think it. Gas giant. Planet grows hot. So why aren't you cool it? No conscience of what? Who drills a farm, kills a farm, forest or mountain, brings up a whole lot more than a fountain. Toxicity, sure, but there's oceans of profit. Don't come objecting, just get your ass off it. Gas giant. The Earth's kind of warm. So why don't you cool it? Stop fueling the storm. How free, wild and awesome the wide wilderness. A drilling rig paradise, hey, more or less. Less of your scruples, more of them got greed. What's with this multi-transnational creed? Gas giant. The planet grows hot. Be compliant or go down. No conscience or what? There's lawyers that surely can manipulate. Corruption? Well, no. But just what is the rate? Check out the balance sheet. What are the features? No love of country there. No living creatures. Gas giant. Earth kind of warm. So why don't you cool it? Stop fueling the storm, gas giant. Planet grows hot, so why don't you cool it? No conscience or what? I know you agree with that too much. Anyway, here's a closer for the season, for the afternoon in this season, Christmas rush. My heart is in a Christmas rush, a Christmas rush. It has too long a shopping list. Thanks to give, things to do, so much to do, and wishes to be born anew. Streamers under sparkling lights, spangles, tinsel, decorated streets, red and gold and green and white. I tell my heart, be still. This time, choose the presents. Wrap the boxes, tie the ribbons with a bow. Writing cards, my fingers like your touch. My heart is in a Christmas rush. It has a whopping shopping list. I hurry in and out of stores, through all the bright transparent doors. I hope you find this useful. It caught my eye. Upon a shelf I tied it with a kiss, and told my heart, be still, don't beat so fast. Enjoy, but do beware the spin. Don't start and turn and heave so much. But then my heart is in a Christmas rush. My heart is in a Christmas rush. It has a simple shopping list. It wants to give the world to you and wrap it in a thought or two. I tell the buzzy tyke, be still. Don't be so up. You cannot fill the whole package of dreams like that. Remember, life's a thimble cup to measure instant treasure with. So take it easy, gently, freely. But my heart is in a Christmas rush.
Thank you, Peter. We'll be back at 3:10 3 for the second half, and we're going to be having our second feature, John Pratt, straight after that. Okay. Okay, and welcome back to the second half. We'll just settle everybody down. We're going to go straight into our next feature. John Pratt is a graduate of UWA and holds a Master's and PhD in creative writing from Edith Cowan. He was a professional actor for many years and appeared in a wide range of shows, from revues, plays and pantomimes at Patch Theatre at UWA and at the Playhouse in Perth, to various Australian tours of plays and shows. Since turning his hand to writing, he has had plays workshopped at the Australian National Playwrights Conference, Theatre East in California, and at the Stables Theatre in Sydney. His play Mosquito was recorded in Melbourne, broadcast and repeated on ABC National Radio, and was produced for the stage at the Blue Room in Perth. John's first novel, Faint Tappings at the Wrong Window, which you can find on the zine table for $25, there's a pretty little poster behind us, was met with critical success from both locally in the West Australian and nationally in the Australian, and is available on Amazon.com. There are also a copy of the reviews on a clipboard up at the table there. Would you please welcome John Pratt.
Thank you. The first 4 poems are part of the one group of poems called Birthing Suite, and they're dedicated to my mother. Birthing Suite. Her firstborn child, she said, was blue. A hole in the heart, they told her. They wrapped him in swaddling clothes and her in clouds of ignorance, then put the baby to her swollen breast. 2 weeks he lasted, she whispered, but which 2 weeks she didn't say. She gave no dates save one, 1939. I called him Eddie, she said, little Eddie. She never said where he was buried, nor what happened to his lifeless body. They were details, little details, that meant nothing compared to the little hole in his heart and the gaping hole in hers. World events overwhelmed her personal story. One child's death was buried beneath 1,000 other deaths, 10,000 other deaths, 1 million other deaths a month for 6 long years before she raised her head to look for him among the putty children playing in her garden. He wasn't there. Have you seen Eddie? She asked her husband, newly back from the front. Who's Eddie? He asked in return. Our son, she said, our firstborn. We called him George, he said, remember? She didn't. Just one tear she shed. It was all she had left before they ran out altogether. Their second born, another boy, was every cliche, her pride and joy. bonny and bouncing, been there before, the longest baby on the ward, they said, and standing by their prams with folded arms, her terrace and house neighbours, who'd also whelped, shared their knowledge, creams and tips, called each other mother, not by name. Lottie's girl had the thickest hair, Em over the roads the bluest eyes, and replacement baby soon became the longest baby on the street. But everyone knew whose child was crying as Hitler's blitz reduced their homes to rubble. Mothers snatched babies amid exploding bombs and screaming shells, dodged flaming walls, leapt wounded friends, and tits a-wobble threw babies into prams or clutched them to their chests, and heads a-bobble ran to shelters and counted their survivors, counted their blessings, and thanked the Lord. The same Lord who had taken her Eddie. She sang his praises louder than most. She'd sell her soul to save baby too. Death wasn't getting him, not if she could help it. Not the longest baby in London, eh? Her third. It was in the silences between trains she heard it, faint at first, distant seeming, growing louder, growing stronger. She lowered her head, tilted it and laughed. It was her own heart she was hearing, beating faster than it had for years. He looked back and she gasped. He couldn't be much more than half her age, but he was slim and gypsy-like, with curly black hair and talking eyes. She knew she would say yes before he'd even asked. It wasn't the prospect of the act that caused her heart to quicken, nor yet the flouting of her marriage vows that dizzied her to a standstill. It was where she planned to do it that sent her warm blood racing. He'd waited at the barrier after giving up his ticket. He hadn't spoken all the while he'd followed her through the shops and up the street, where Em and Lottie stood lookout. So who's she with? Young and in uniform, and her husband overseas. At the entrance to the park, the words began to pour out of him, to tell her who he was, to give her some assurance, to justify his need. He was a Jew from Krakow, where he'd seen his parents murdered. He joined the Royal Air Force and was shipping out tomorrow. She put an index finger to his lips and led him through a copse of hazelnuts where light still danced on autumn leaves to a spot on the hill where they could lie on their backs out in the open and watch cauliflower clouds in a wide blue sky. Jerry was then a memory, and neither was afraid. She reached down for his hand and put it on her breast. They agreed he would have the sky and she would keep the earth. She didn't remember his name, her passing Jewish soldier for whom she had felt sorry. She never knew if he lived or died. She presumed it was the latter. She called their daughter Abigail, father's joy, and thanked the Lord the baby shared her husband's colouring. The fourth. To France, straight after Iceland, he wrote. Only time to see you between trains. Then on the platform, the men had cheered. 2 weeks leave, a Christmas gift. But none were fooled. A last big push was on. They weren't expected to return, except perhaps the lucky few, shipped home blind or lame, or shell-shocked ghosts. And so, disarmed, she had surrendered, thinking to give a farewell gift. She'd lose the battle, but not the war. Like her neighbours, she rushed to the gate when the boy held out the telegrams. Number 6, MIA, missing in action. Joyce would live in hope for the duration. Not Abigail's mum, who lived in hope for KIA, killed in action. 3 words that would legitimise her widowhood and curb the gossip. Then she'd turn on the tap and drown Agamemnon in her tears. She'd win the battle, if not the war. The doctor smiled his confirmation, but she had the perfect pigeon pair. Another one was one too many, but she didn't have to accept it. There were things she could do, secret things like the gypsy's herbs, like tightened corsets or chemist's pills, hot baths in Epsom salts while drinking gin, and climbing on the kitchen table and jumping off over and over and over again. Every day and evening for a month, she said, climb, jump, push, climb, jump, land on heels, over and over and over again. But you clung on, she told him 6 years later, with a strange pride in his tenacity. Determined to be born you were, boy, but once you'd quickened, I gave up then. I'd lose that battle, but not the war. When he was in his 30s and still entangled in the cord, he'd been given a number to call. She was Welsh, the clairvoyant, a crippled woman in her 60s. The moment she opened the door, she looked at him and said, "You didn't want to come in this time, did you?" Last one, and this one is, for most people who don't know, December the 1st is actually World AIDS Day, which is the red ticket here, and this is written, I wrote one that was commissioned back in 2006, and that one was well received, and this one was written for 2018, so this is 12 years later. On a positive note, 2 years, she said, sorry, I'll start again. 2 years, he said, 2 years is what they're saying now. He was trying to be kind, this sun-tanned harbinger of doom, with his curly blonde hair, ocean blue eyes, and a stethoscope as long as your arm. He didn't want to sugarcoat the pill, he said. You've tested positive to HIV. I'm putting you on AZT, he said, in hope it'll give us more time, give you more time. But just in case, perhaps you'd better get your affairs in order. That was 3 and 30 years ago, and though my affairs are still a mess, I lasted longer than the handsome doctor did, and decades longer than Lloyd or Rock or Freddie, Wayne or Randy, Rob or Rex or Billy the Kid. The list goes on, but not as many as before. There were lists of doctors after him too, after my silver-tongued Grim Reaper, all with positive results of negative loads, with brand new pills and comforting words. Of course I thank them. They've looked after me, these softly spoken messengers of life. They're even serving cocktails now, just as I'm thinking of leaving. And they've given the green light to bed or wed and raise a brood, just 50 years too late for me. I'm no longer in the mood. No, you stay and have some fun. Enjoy yourselves, the night's still young. The party's nearly over, for me at least. I've got to hurry home and get my affairs in order. Thank you very much.
Okay, so first up we're going to have David Finley, and then after David we're going to have Tammy and then Sebastian up the back, okay? So would you please welcome David Finley.
Thank you, Rachel. I have 3 short ones. I've been in a bit of a dark place recently and these might come through a little bit dark, but never mind. There's a bit of a link here with the previous reading. A child is born. This is about my birth. I arrive with a wail on this earth, through a tunnel of flesh, shrink-wrapped. Snake-like peristalsis exudes me forth until my head falls free as texture lapsed. What is this nightmare? I have no clue. I was warm, comfortable and secure. I'm now torn away from all that I knew. I'm scared, uncertain, unsure. The warmth from which my being was girt is left behind as my body followed through. The cold, the light, the noise, my chest burst. Urgent air draws, a whale exits too. Help me escape this horror, I implore. Something lifts me up and cuts me free, then slaps me on the back and rubs me all over. What evil are they doing to me? Where is my home? Where has it gone? What is this strange place of things unknown? I do not know things. What are things, Yon? I do what I can. I wail alone. Thank you. A long, short while. She stands so still in the dark night, like a museum Greek marble. The stiletto heels knife the sidewalk to hold her place against the chill. On the corner all alone, as if pegged out, ready to mine. All her riches placed out on offer, with the promise of something sublime. The cold dark wipes by and cuts, invisible, inert, in confidence, seeking flesh laid out to thrill, grasping at one's glance so tense. Shadows from the neon signs disguise her frozen smile. They hide her sagging skin for just a long short while. A hint of tear from one cold eye glints erroneously. The void within her now greyed heart weeps for memories only. Take her body now, young man, she offers you her wiles. To love only you this night, she'll dissolve you with her smiles. Thank you. And we had to get to the black, so we're here now. When I'm gone. This is 4 double triplets. You know what a double triplet is? When I'm gone, when I'm dead, will you hang on whilst tears are shed? When you think you've won and your needs, they're fed? When your life shaper fills an empty box with no wrapping paper and an empty card's inbox, bereft of joy, just lost vapour with a truth that mocks. When all you've lost you meant to keep, when what is tossed is what you reap, when your cost runs far too deep, will you then stop and think, recall the hurt when you broke our link, and wish for your time again? It'll be too late though, by then, if you blink. Thank you.
Thank you, David. It's certainly been a while. It's great to have you back. And someone who is here quite regularly but doesn't quite regularly perform, we have Tammy Winnett.
Okay, this first one is called Disconnected. Can't hear. First poem is called Disconnected.
Much better.
Yeah. Feeling shut off from the world. My brain is foggy, my brain is foggy. Unable to sleep properly. Anxiety rests with me. Feeling like everyone's against me. Sometimes teary, then other times numb. Trying so hard to climb out of my pit of despair. Needing a way to escape this feeling of nothingness. Wanting so much to feel connected. That's the first one. The second one's called Connected. The feeling of being in sync with someone. The glances where you can know the other person without a word barely being spoken. Sensing each other's mood, then being able to match it, or calm them when it is necessary, gently encouraging in a warm, compassionate manner.
Okay, thank you for that. Our last feature here, Teonga Sindama, is 19 years old and an emerging poet, spoken word artist and storyteller from Zambia. In 2017, she fell in love with poetry, entering and winning her first slam at the WA Youth Slam launch and performing at countless features since. Her work acts as a healing tool and means of navigation through intersectional struggles, and aims to be a safe space that encourages vulnerability, openness, and honest conversations surrounding difficult topics. Her dream ultimately is to redefine what poetry is and what a poet should be, and encourage participation and involvement in the arts. Would you please welcome Taylor Sindel.
Is that loud enough? Is that okay? Awesome. Thank you for Perth Poetry Club for having me today. It's a big anniversary for me. It's my uncle's birthday, and yesterday was the anniversary of his passing as well. So it's just 2 days of anniversaries. So the first poem is for my uncle, and it's called The First Time I Saw the Ocean, and I've revamped it and redone it like a billion times. So. The first time I saw the ocean, I was 4 years old and fresh off a plane. My uncle, who I'd met all of 10 minutes ago, held my hand, stood on the shore and said there are only 2 rules. The first is never go deeper than you can stand, and the second is to never turn your back to the waves. So of course, in my 4-year-old glory, I ran screaming and spinning into the water, and I told him, with my back to the wave, it's really not that bad. And my uncle laughed while a wave swept me off my feet, and I crashed at his feet. I looked up, my face covered in sand, and his face a mask of I told you so. And this is how I try and tell my best friend that I am grieving. That my uncle died 3 years ago, a day before his birthday, and his birthday the first day of summer. The irony has never escaped me, and I'm still grieving. For my uncle, but not by blood, but blood has nothing on salt water, or my best friend, or my guardian, or my third parent. Every summer, I dream about floating in the ocean, crying until osmosis takes hold. I miss him in tidal waves. I drown my grief in my poetry, hang it out on the rocks to dry in all its naked glory. I try and tell my best friend that I am grieving, and I break like a wave at her feet. The tide edges out, drags my tongue out of my mouth, takes my words with it. My uncle died 3 years ago, and I'm still trying to find the words to talk about it. I turned my back to my grief and tried to stand on my own 2 feet, and the ocean devours me whole. That's what a thing like grief will do. Uncle, as in mercy, as in please. The hurt has gone on long enough. You can come home now. I try to find the words to tell my best friend why I am summer rain, and all that comes out of my mouth is, did I ever tell you about the first time I saw the ocean? And uncle, I hope there's blue skies wherever you are, because I love you, big blue crashing, breaking and becoming. I love you Sunday afternoon drives, fish and chip shop feats, and I miss you all the same. I forget to say a lot of things when I'm on stage, like my uncle was German, had a layer of stubble 364 days of the year. He had hazel eyes and a stomach that put Santa Claus to shame. He was allergic to chicken, taught my sister how to drive, and would forgive everyone but line cutters and bad drivers. I tally the days until I can come home to him in the sand. A wave palms them away, almost as if to say, not yet. Do your time. Wait your turn, not now. It's the first day of summer, and I am again summer rain, again and again. Sea glass caress smooth. Who, if not the memory of the hard edges I was before? All elbows and knobby knees and hard edges and hardwood closed doors. The seaweed retched onto the shoreline. The sand scraped from the surface of our tongues. Who offers comfort like the sea to a sunburnt summer skin? And what gift do you give the person who showed you the ocean for the first time? Give thanks. And who forgives the apologies abandoned in purgatory? Who holds the girl by her shoulders and says, listen, listen to the way the waves break too? And who forgives the forgotten apology? And who will say, listen, listen to the way the ground breaks too? Who absolves the guilt and sheds the shame? And who will say, I hear you? 6 feet under, voice saccharine saxophone song. Who will say, listen to the way the sky breaks in two, the way the bread breaks in two, and who forgives the crumbs on their car seat? Who forgives the crayon on the wallpaper? Who forgives what we forgot? who forgives how we folded back into the sky, who saves seats at the dinner table, and says premature grace for tomorrow, not knowing what it will hold. I hope that there's some kind of sky wherever you are. I hope whatever the sky that tomorrow holds, I hope that it's you, and I hope that I hope the skies are blue. Thank you. The second one's about nostalgia, and I graduated last year, and it hasn't really clicked until I see the kids that have graduated this year, and then I feel so old, and then my mom's like, if you're old, then what do you think I am? And I'm like, not old. So this one's about nostalgia. For a trip down memory lane, take a left at the end of this street and a right at the roundabout. Mom will meet you at the school gates and pack your lunch, tie your shoelaces for you, maybe tonight's the school disco. You crack open a few cans of soft drink with your mates and go hard on the dance floor. Your heart might break when your crush doesn't ask you to snowball with them, or Frankenstein armed rocking back and forth and side to side. Maybe your heart was swoon so hard you almost passed out when the fastest boy in your grade asked you out. And for a trip down memory lane, take 2 lefts and go over the hill. Maybe your joints still hurt, but it's nothing an ice pack from the school nurse can't fix. And over the mountain ranges, it's the time your mom packed you something traditional, something not white, so you threw it away and you starved instead. And there is your first kiss, the time you realize that being a genius in primary school gets you nowhere in high school, the moment you realize that things aren't as shiny as you remember, the time you went to the city for the first time without your parents. So you hold your baby cousin a little tighter. You kiss her marshmallow cheeks and you babble at her and make faces and sing and dance until she smiles. Tuck her smile behind your heart for a rainy day. Call your childhood best friend and skip the hellos and head straight to the I miss yous. Take a left, and if you get lost, that's okay. Everyone tells you your grades don't define you, and sometimes you believe them. You pull it out during a 24-hour study break and you say, who needs school anyway? The next night you pull your first all-nighter. The next day you visit your grandparents and get treated like a kid again, and it's not the end of the world. Maybe the world isn't always shiny. Maybe by this point you've had your heart broken, realized your parents aren't invincible, realized the world isn't out to get you, but it sure as shit doesn't owe you any favors. The seasons have changed. All the trees are starving for warmth, and homesickness applies to people now too. You gained weight and the world didn't end. Your brother doesn't let you sit on his bedroom floor anymore. Time salutes its middle finger at you and you wonder, how dare the past not stay there? The sheer audacity. The seasons have changed again. You slept through another sunrise. A dog on the street tugs its leash just to get close to you. Your favorite childhood sweets get revived as ice creams, and you climb a mountain, eat 3 kilograms of hummus in 1 week, and you brag about it on Tinder. The next day you delete Tinder. You turn to the camera and you smile with all your teeth showing, crooked in all their glory. Know that one day you'll look back at this, make memories you want to look back at, and go straight down memory lane. Start a story with remember when, finish it with a sigh and a smile, get lost for a bit, enjoy the ride all the while. Thank you. This one's really quick. It's just like a 20-second love poem of sorts. But then I wrote it and I was kind of like, I don't know anything about being in love. And then it sounds like I'm proposing to someone, but I'm not because I'm 19. I used to think I'd know when it happened. A eureka moment of sorts. This is it. This is the sweetest love, where the healing finds company. Are you what the birds have been singing for? The kitchen cabinet teeming with gold, the aftermath of the 4th shower, the one that skins you down the drain. Are you the yellow in the rainbow, the golden wedding band welded to my eager finger? Are you my elusive epiphany? Were you there when the world began and ended and began again? And will you stay? Thank you. That is my last one, and next Wednesday, if you're coming to Spoken Word Perth, I will be there, and the theme is joy, and it's going to be like a little house party of sorts, and the address will be released a day before, I think, but probably in Maylands, and thank you for having me. It turns out I have 3 more minutes, so I'm going to do one more poem. Whoops, okay. Okay. This is for my sister who moved out recently, and I've shared a bed with her and shared a room with her and been next door to her my whole life, and I just don't know what to do without her. It's a bit weird. A woman at work carved out of the same earth as I calls me sister. It rolls off her tongue like it was always waiting for me, like we knew each other in another life. A sister is someone who never knocks on your door, thinks throwing herself against it is more effective. A sister is someone who mixes tequila with apple juice and calls it white wine. A sister is someone who says she never dropped you as a kid, she just watched you roll off the bed and did nothing instead. A sister is someone that knows that distance means nothing, even the 8 years in our age. As long as we have Instagram and our bad jokes, a sister will always be the roommate for your laughter. But when this woman calls me sister, I remember her. This poem is for Black Girl Magic. To being the only black face in a white space, and your hair, the office petting zoo, your skin color, a conversation starter. This poem is for Sandra Bland. To being so magical, you pull handkerchief after handkerchief of grief out of yourself, magic lynch yourself in an empty cell. This poem is for my black girl body, and its black girl cells, from my black girl head to my black girl toes. This poem is for all the times we wished our girls home, wherever home is and wherever they might be. To all the prayers that got lost in the darkness, to this body of grace. This poem is for my sister. A sister is someone who knows you, leaves a glass of water by your side after a night out, sees you at your Sunday best hangover and loves you regardless. A sister is a taxi driver and your first bully, and a sister is made out of whatever our souls were carved out of in the beginning. A sister is someone who takes your breath away, leaves it in her closet, insists that it was actually hers in the first place and she bought it in the same size in the same week that you did. And my big sister is a home within a home, a tempest of moods, a roofless cathedral, a fistful of sunbeams. She's the space between each heartbeat, and in the 8 years between us, the word sister hung heavy as the silence she left in the room next to me. I call her sister, and it rolls off my tongue like it was always waiting for me. Now I'm done.
Well, we're certainly glad she had 3 more minutes. Would you please give another round of applause for Taonga? Next up to the microphone we have Stephen Cole.
From ancient times, love will always be, from eros, goddesses of love, a special love between two, thoughtful, caring, for all times, sharing that special love. Insight of light and energy, a pure light of sight, a being composed of love, of visualization. Music is a form of hearing, feeling, rhythm. Music comes from within, of joy, singing, enlightenment of love, visualization of enjoyment, of life and love, a pure love of innocence, brings life and love, to feel a sense of light and energy. Visualization, meditation is the key of life. Today of all days, a cool day today, it's December today, a month ago, a new year of memories this year. Good memories. It's the first today. Parties to attend, Christmas time, a new year. Thank you.
Next up, we have Ananda Barton.
Thank you. I'm glad I made it onto the platform. This outfit I've got on looks magnificent, but it hobbles my feet, so I can only take tiny steps. I'm going to read to you today a poem I wrote on Thursday during work time, I might add, using the cut-up method. My sources are a biography of the Emperor Charles V, 2 19th century legal documents, and a vampire novel, which I happen to have floating around on my desk. So it's called Cut-Up Poem. If the difficulties were obvious, the remedies were obscure. Where then had he better be? In the colony of Western Australia, in the year of our Lord 1895, Lionel Herbert Noyes and Thomas Smith tried to find the love in her heart. Tried to find the love in her heart. A native of India and a camel owner, Charles formed the fatal resolution of repairing to Innisbrook, which, unless under the Emperor's eye, would end in smoke. Thank you.
Thank you, that was crazy, wow. Next up we have Ron Oakley.
A dog like this. A dog like this. He was with us, but not with us. 91 years of living, 3 years of slowly dying. Fractured hip, trussed up like a turkey. Just get me out of this, Tony, and we'll be back in the mine. Just shift this girder, I can look after myself. In the ward, bright family idea. Let's take the dog up so that he can see her. He loved her when he was much better. Deep, meaningful discussion with the DOM. Yes, you can take the dog into the ward, but don't you let it scratch my carpet, my lino, my floor. And don't you let him pee in because the light's not good enough. I can't. Don't worry, don't stay. We'll finish. Three flights of stairs. Great fun for a lively German Shepherd. A few slips and slides. Eventually, we make it to the bedside. An old hand stretches out. "Oh, yes," he said, to stroke the dog. "My son's got a dog like this." This one's one of Splodge's poems, so if you're a regular here, you know just how clever but silly some of them can be. And then I decided to read this one backwards. Listened, I
EDIR they as, and other to connection, impacts absorbing eyes, mares there with rhyme, and it, she ending, sees new TNATSID, sounds spoken flows story, the so Pluto, beyond reach, enables this for other to submit, 1, 2, verse in rapt echo, eternal bide waves bow as tips finger bodies spoke shore that grip Titanic in arms draws now, crossed seas fair, her with more once wear gowns, tinned the amongst, back me, take which come, horses white, white trade cries untethered, and where trowels and peaks grinds that strokes distant of speak, shit then adjustment, and by stranded growth rivers, the two blind not say inequalities and process to stay of echoes, echo language marshes, deep depth plunges, creek streams as cracked walls amongst languished sound in dive. I'd sowed EVITAGENYLLAER minuses to bank all negatives, double flying sentences, unlicensed ways by tweaks, she where pitch pleasures in peak, deep levels 3, C and in peep, let's to me and it, you in so pout lips, crones made mother like outplayed scenes, little sins in clad semi-detached stories, doubled all town, tin as known estate, council, a ears grew eyes, so clear to spoke she. Thank you. Maybe that made more sense, I'm not sure. I just wanted to say that this is the last time I'm going to get to host this year for Perth Poetry Club, and my job is made very easy doing MC because of all of Elio's hard work behind the scenes. So if we could just get a round of applause for Elio. I'd like to thank the rest of Perth Poetry Club for giving me the opportunity to come up here and give it a go. Especially providing a space here for all us poets to come annoying everybody else in our favourite little corner. And to close the show, we are going to have Elio come read a poem for us.
And can I say thank you very much to Mitchell and also to Christine, I think who's still in the audience, yes she is, for their emceeing during part of the year as well. That was really good, it really makes it easy. Applause please for Mitchell and Christine. Right, now unfortunately you're going to end with this poem which is more of a political rant, so it's not really a poem, so anyway I'll just go for it, and apologies to all those who of the families of all those who fought in World War I, okay? Fale Alec Campbell. Men, I am ordering you to attack. Men, I am not ordering you to attack, I am ordering you to die. In the time it takes us to die, other forces and commanders can come and take our place. Orders given on the 25th of April 1915 by Ataturk, commander of the Ottoman Turkish 57th Infantry Regiment at the Battle of Gallipoli. Civilization flourished across the Mediterranean Sea, from Neanderthal to present time, as evidenced by cultural graffiti on cave walls. The Stone Age to the Metal Ages, the Axial Age to Dark Ages, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, through to the Industrial and Techno Ages. From the village, the city and the state, culminating in Eurovision Song Contest, civilization ebbing and flowing like the tide on that Mediterranean lake. But in 1914, dark forces gathered around that sea. The Mediterranean became Tolkien's Middle Earth. Europe became Arnold's darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight where ignorant armies clash by night. The Great War simply created more misery, more despair, more war in its peace than any war before. That Great War allowed naive Australians to storm the beaches, get foot rot in the trenches, become cannon fodder to a European obsession. None of our dead, I repeat, none of our dead ever returned home, except for one unknown soldier in 1993, now entombed in Canberra stone, all alone, removed from his mates, asleep within their graves where they can dream, and overhead the summer grasses wave to the sun and soak up a European rain. Our last Gallipoli veteran, Alec Campbell, said, "No matter what anyone tells you, war is not right." Alec died in 2002. Pity our Prime Minister wasn't cognizant when he gave Alec Campbell's eulogy, because the same PM the next year sent our troops to fight in a war, Iraq, that had less than popular support. That PM's stupidity became our disgrace, making the world a less safe place. His eventual fall complete in 2007, when he lost the election and his seat. But let's cut to the chase. Will Australia ever, never send troops abroad to fight our own or other people's wars? Wisdom not born of cowardice or neglect, but simply advocating that the West, include ourselves, can stop most of its wars by not creating them in the first place, by not using power to make a never-lasting peace, by not sending its children to be heroes, like over 100,000 lives lost and over 200,000 casualties gained for a 600-metre length of beach called Anzac Cove, by remembering what Alec Campbell said, "For God's sake, don't glorify Gallipoli. It was a terrible fiasco, a total disgrace. No matter what anyone tells you, war is not right."
And well, that's it for the show. So please join us next Saturday for the mega open mic, where you can bring your 5-minute poems and get a spot, because it's typically quite popular. All right, see ya.